Hi class. So today we're back and we're going to work on a little bit more practice with affixes. I just want to make sure you have a really solid handle on how to use your affixes so that when you run into a word in a text or a novel, you're able to take that word and take it apart into its pieces and use those pieces to create your own definition. And then you're going to be able to figure out what that word means and understand it based on the definition you come up with from kind of dissecting that word. And that's the point of this SOL standard. The hope is to help you make meaning of words that you don't understand or aren't necessarily familiar with by giving you the tools you need to do that. And again, in this specific standard, we're going to be working with affixes specifically, and we'll keep working on everything else as we go. So your goals for today are to be better able to define a prefix and identify a prefix, to better be able to define a suffix and to identify a word suffix, and then to define what a word's root is, to be able to see it and identify it and pick it out. And then finally, to take your knowledge of all three of those things and combine them so that you can infer meaning for a word that you don't know. So you're going to want to, what we're doing today is we're giving you the tools you need to create your own definitions, which we've been working on a little bit, but I just want to make sure that you have a really solid foundation before we move on. So we'll go over again what an affix is, just as kind of a refresher. So according to the dictionary, an affix is an element placed at the beginning or the end of a root, stem, or word, or in the body of a word, and it modifies its meaning. So for us, that means it's a grammatical element that we add to the root word to change what the root word means. Today, we're going to be working with prefixes, which begin a word, the root, which is the basis of the word, and the suffix, which generally ends the word. So here's an example that we'll kind of start off with. So the word is misunderstanding. And we will start with the prefix, and the prefix for misunderstanding is mis, and the prefix mis is defined as incorrect. The root is understand, and the suffix is ing, which signifies a result or an action. So if we were to kind of put together our own definition, if we took those three things, we put them together, it's the result or action of understanding incorrectly. Or it means like to understand incorrectly, which I think is a really good definition if you don't understand what the word misunderstanding means. So we'll go over again. A prefix is a group of letters added to the beginning of a word that change the meaning. And there are a lot of common ones. We kind of talked about a few of these, but there are a few more, and I actually have a worksheet to give you that has lots of these and their definitions and some examples, so you can kind of see how they're used and words that you've seen them used in. So we have re, miss, pre, un, anti, non, inter, ex, and dis. So those are, pretty familiar. If you haven't seen any of them, you'll see them on your worksheet. Suffixes are a group of letters added to the end of the word that change the meaning. So we have some common ones that you might be familiar with are able, full, ing, hood, or, bias, ish, less, dumb, and ick. So what we're going to do, we're going to try this together. We're going to take a few words of our own. I'm going to show you the process in which, or that you would use to break those words down and to put the word back together and to develop your own definition based on that breakdown. So let's work on that. So first we're going to start with words that you're probably more familiar with. So the first word is unbelievable. So un is our prefix, which means not. Believe is our root word. And able is our suffix, which means able to. So if we took those three pieces and we broke them down, we would get not able to believe, which is, I think a fantastic definition of the word unbelievable if you didn't know what that word meant. We will try another word, preschooler. Pre is our prefix, which means before. School is our root word. And is our suffix, which means someone who. So if we were to put those together, we get someone who is before school, which in the United States, public school starts at kindergarten, so anyone before that is technically a preschooler, which is before public school or before colloquial schooling. So I think this is a really good definition of the word preschooler, just by breaking down the pieces and knowing what the prefix and suffix and root mean. So let's try it together with some words that are a little bit more complex you may not have run into before. So first, we have nonconformist. And if you look at your worksheet, which I've just passed out, you would see that non it means not. And conform, if you looked up the definition, the dictionary definition would say that conform means to follow the rules or to follow a specific standard. And ist is a person who. Or, yeah. So if you took non, not, follow the rules, someone who, you would kind of get someone who doesn't follow the rules, or someone who doesn't follow a specific standard, which is a really great working use and definition of the word nonconformist. So if you ran into that word in a novel, you could take the three pieces, you could break them down, build them back up, and put them back together, and you would get someone who doesn't conform to standards or follow the rules. Our next word is indispensable. So if you ran into this word and you weren't quite sure what it meant, you could break it down into its three pieces. In means not, dispense means to like throw it away, and able means able to. So if you took those three, broke it down, put it back together, we'd have not able to throw away, which is, I mean, it really is what the word means in its more like literal form. Now, if you took that and you saw that word in a novel, it said he made himself indispensable. That doesn't necessarily mean he made himself able to be thrown away. That means he made himself really necessary or essential to the job. But not able to be thrown away, I think, is a really great working definition and would give you enough understanding of the word to know how that's describing somebody. And then finally, we have counter-revolutionary. Now, this is a long word. It's a hard word, but it's one that we can just take it and break it down. If you run into a counter-revolutionary person in history class, you want to know what that means. Your teacher's going to want you to know what that means. So let's take that word and we'll break it down. So counter means against, revolution, and then airy is like or like related to. So you could take this and you could see this was against things that are like a revolution. So if a person is a counter-revolutionary, that means that they are against things that are related to the revolution. So say we were talking about the Industrial Revolution and someone wasn't in favor of the Industrial Revolution or like the Revolutionary War. Say that there were settlers that were, pro-Britain, and so they were counter-revolutionary, meaning they were not in line with the revolutionaries and they were against things related to the revolution. So if you took the word and you broke it down and you bring it back up, you put it back together, you build it, you'll understand what the word counter-revolutionary means by building your own definition. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a few more words and you're going to work on these on your own now that you've kind of seen how we broke it down together and brought them back up. I'm going to be here to help you guys if you need anything, but we're going to take 3 words and then we're going to come back together. We're going to talk about our own definitions of the words that we worked on, and then we're going to do a fun activity where we're going to create our own words using roots, prefixes, and suffixes, and the class is going to have to guess each other's definitions of words that we create ourselves. So it'll be really fun. Let's get going.